Hello and welcome to the show. There has been some recent events going on in Paris, France, and fortunately we have again as our guest Thierry from France, and he's telling us about these events, that what is going on, and hopefully we will learn something. So I'm very pleased again to have Thierry as our guest, and welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much, Johnny. It's always a pleasure, in fact, to discuss with you. So basically, you might ask yourself some question regarding what is going on in France and the reason of all this brawling in the street and the turmoil that Paris have been facing during these football games that was opposing the English team with the PSG. And, the confrontations that were between different type of population that we are facing for the last 30 years have been evolving consequently to certainly an historic background that is not favorable to the integration of some population, but also due to geopolitical events and the behavior, the general behavior in terms of wish of integration that those populations are putting together. So let's go back a little bit in the 40s, 50s to understand how we have been heading into this type of problem that is growing bigger and bigger. After the Second World War, the French governments have been opening the gates from our ancient colonies, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, and of course, all the Western Africa, to help us out to rebuild completely the country. So there was a massive amount of population coming from those colonies that set up in France to work and to integrate themselves within our society. The first generation have been taking this opportunity to exit their countries and to make a great living, because in France, the level of living was way above the one that was developed in the colony, okay? Then they went the second generation of those people who had the problem of finding themselves within two different cultures. Of course, when you're mixing two different type of population with different culture, with different way of thinking, and doing things with, of course, a component which is causing some problem, which is the religion, then you can be sure that there will be a confrontation. But when I was young, when I was 20 years old, these kind of discrepancies were not so much evident and causing problem. There were some. Don't confuse yourself. When I was studying, for example, in the university, I was 25, 26 when I exit. There were some neighborhoods within cities that you would have a lot of problem, in fact, to go through because you wouldn't be accepted. And especially in Marseille or in the northern of Paris. We have some neighborhoods in Marseille called Quartier Nord. It's northern territories of the city, in which you will not even find a police station at this during this time. It was in the 80s, 90s. One of the cities that was causing the biggest problem was Grenoble. There was Échirolles, which is a neighborhood outside of Grenoble, in which you will not find even white people. And of course, that was the nest of the drug trafficking. We are right now in front of population. It is the fourth generation that has been confronted to sort of exclusion due to racism, and that might have been part of the mistake of the French population, but it does not explain everything, because the rejection is also coming from the way that those people would be, behave in front of others, especially on the vocabulary point of view, because the French language is kind of complex, and they were lazy enough for not, studying it in the way that integration would be more easy.
Mm-hmm.
But there was also the problem of the religion. And this religion problem has been growing bigger and bigger, especially due to the way that United States have been evolving within the Middle East. There was, first of all, the revolution in Iran, then the destruction of Iraq, then the installation of different military bases in those regions, the way that the CIA has been always provoking some chaos in the way that they will be still in control of whatsoever was happening within those regions, because the main deal was about, in fact, to control the flow of energy, oil and gas. And those populations who are refusing, in fact, the European culture, the westernized culture, have been increasing in the way they will be rejecting our culture, our way of living. And due to this rejection, they have been finding the short way to make a living. And I'm talking about prostitution, I'm talking about aggressions, of robberies, bank jacking, and of course, drug dealing. This phenomenon has been increasing massively, especially the last 20 years, from 2000 to right now. We are facing systemic problem when there are some events during which, in fact, we should be celebrating, in fact, even a sport event or a cultural event or whatsoever. And most of those events are just the siege of brawling, of robbery, of destruction of cities, because they are taking the advantage of a massive amount of people that are in the street, in fact, to smuggle within it and make sure that they will take advantage of the situation. And especially, we are observing this kind of behavior, especially during the sports event and especially football. There were also a lot of problem regarding the way that some of those population were conducting themselves vis-a-vis of police, as they were acting not in a very civil manner. Example, the rodeo within with scooters, the fact that they were not respecting the driving rules and so on. So basically, there were systematic confrontation with the police. And as those guys didn't want, in fact, to be caught, they were trying to escape. And you know what is happening when you try to behave that way? Police start to chase you, and you are putting your life at risk because you're going to drive extremely fast within an environment that is not made for it. And at the end of the story, what's happening? There were a lot of those people that has been dying because the police has been pushing them to make the fatal mistake and to kill themselves. There were also some drug trafficking problems during which, in fact, that has been leading to arrestations in the street. Those people wanted to retaliate against the police. And of course, there was a clash. And as soon as there were clashes and people were dying, there were a sort of, how to say, population revenge against the police. And they were taking advantage of the situation, in fact, to destroy everything in the city. And this kind of behavior has been increasing massively the last 10 years, especially under Macron. Now I would like to make a sort of parallel between what has been happening with the Euro jacket. You remember this episode?
Yes. Yeah.
That has been triggered because the government wanted to put a tax carbon on top of the oil and gas. Okay? And most of the population that are living in remote, especially in the countryside, they need, in fact, their vehicle. There is no transportation capacity. So basically, at that moment, because people were constrained on a financial point of view, what has been happening, people decided, in fact, to retaliate against the government. So during months and months and months, every weekend, people were in the street to protest in regard of this law that Macron wanted, in fact, to put together. And this has been lasting for 3 years, at the point that Macron has been deciding, in fact, to ask the military to shoot at the protester, when, in fact, the protester, they were kind of pacific. So there was some tension that has been growing massively to the point that Macron has been using a level of violence against people that were not able to leave. Because from a financial point of view, due to the inflation, it was absolutely impossible. So basically, he has been extremely tough with the French population.
Can I interrupt just 1 second? Are you talking about shooting with actual bullets or just rubber bullets and like water hosing or something?
General Cousteau was convoked by the prime minister and asked, in fact, to shoot at the population.
With live bullets, real bullets.
Real bullet. And he has been refusing the order. But we have some special units in France that have been using, like, like the sort of plastic balls guns.
Yeah.
And offensive grenade. A lot of people have been injured in a very violent manner. I remember Fiorina, a young lady, 20 years old, who has been shot in the head and she has been losing her sight. There was another guy who was one of the leader of the Yellow Jacket, who has been losing one eye. A woman that has been losing one hand because one of the grenades has been exploding and chop off her hands, and so on. So basically, Macron has been using a level of violence that we've never seen before. But the same level of violence that the police have been perpetrated against normal citizens never been applied to the population that are coming from those neighborhoods for one reason. Macron was scared. He was scared by the fact that those guys would be putting all the cities in France in fire. We talk about right now a population of 12% fourth generation of immigrants, people that don't want to integrate within our society. They want to secede. And on top of it, the religion component is increasing massively in terms of influence. So basically, by those kind of behavior, they try little by little to conquer our own territory. There are some places in France in which the laws are not applying the way that they are applied to normal citizens. 10 to 15% of those immigrant populations, they want to apply the Sharia. They are estimating that the laws of the Republic does not apply to them. So there is a strong will of secession within the country. And on top of it, you remember there was the war in Syria. And actually, Sarkozy has a major responsibility in the destabilization of this country with Clinton. He has been receiving Bashar al-Assad and told him that he wants a gazoduct to go through, in fact, his country to feed Europe. And he refused. He said, no, I am working with Iran. It's out of question. I will work with Qatar. And Sarkozy has been answering, okay, we are going to put your country in fire. And this is what I did. So basically, when you are destabilizing countries and you have those citizens from those countries that are already on your territory, at a certain point in time, you are going to import the conflict within your own country.
Of course.
And those populations that are, supportive of the population that has been aggressed within those countries, they just want to retaliate and make us paying the price. This is where, in fact, the geopolitics is influencing the way that the society have been evolving in France, especially when you have a big chunk of the population that are related to countries in which our governments in Europe are destabilizing those original countries. So Syria was a major problem. There was a lot of terrorist attack in Nice, in the Bataclan, in Charlies, and so on. And we have been paying a very heavy tribute. There was hundreds of people that has been killed. And this, because some guys wanted, in fact, to feed their pockets. Sarkozy is not a white goose. He has a huge responsibility regarding what has been happening within our country. And now, and then there was Libya.
Yes.
Same problem. And Gaddafi at that moment was just refraining the immigration in Europe. He was containing it. As soon as his barrier was falling off, that was finished.
Yeah, I think he actually warned Europe that if you try to replace me, you will have a massive problem with refugees from North Africa. I think he said it out loud.
Yeah. So basically, when Syria and Libya has been destabilized, what was the outcome out of it? A massive flows of population have been invading Europe. And look at when this wave of foreigners just arrived in Germany, and I remember this Cologne, New Eve, during which, in fact, 1,000 women have been raped by Syrians. In one night, 1,000 women got raped. And this is the responsibility of all those governments that wanted, in fact, to destabilize this country. And at the end of the story, we, Europeans, are paying the price. And I think this is enough. But this immigration mechanism that has been initiated was made because on top of the global geopolitical problem that we're encountering in the world with the destabilization of those countries, in fact, the plan of the World Economic. Don't forget who is leading this forum. You had Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, George Soros, all those guys, they want, in fact, to destroy the notion of border. Because their idea is about to mix all the population together in the way that instead of having strong cultural unity of a country or religion or history, everybody will become, in fact, the same. We are mixing the people, everybody's happy family. You don't have any identity on a cultural or historical point of view. Therefore, you are becoming a consumer. This is exactly what those people that wanted to put together in the way that they will be controlling all the population. I think I've been losing you, my friend. You're back.
Do you hear me?
So
your
yeah.
sound was breaking a bit, but I think I heard most of it.
Okay. So basically, in fact, those people, they have been infringing the laws within, in fact, the European Union in the way that they will be favorable to a massive immigration. And this has been happening, actually. It has been happening. So basically, right now, we have a flow of population in France that has been increasing of 350,000 per year under Macron. After 10 years, we talk about an increase of population of 3.5 million. People coming from Africa, from Middle East, from Afghanistan, with an understanding of our culture, which is completely different of theirs. And what we're observing, and especially the last 5 years, is a level of aggression in the street absolutely enormous. Aggression by knife, mass killing, and of course, the kind of demonstration that we have been observing, in fact, a few days ago in Paris. So there is an administration that does not put together whatsoever.
I lost you. I can't hear anything.
Are you here?
Yes, now I hear you, but I lost you for a few seconds.
Okay, so basically, this massive amount of population right now is causing major problem. The government is not doing anything because they are very scared to be extremely severe and to make sure that they will be forced to follow up on our rules and laws. They are just terrified that the situation will be drifting to a point of coming to civil war. You see? So basically, on top of it, they are taking the advantage of the situation because they are thinking that if the population is under threat, it's a population that is fearing danger and that you can control, because this population will not go in the street to contest whatsoever the government is going to put together in case of a law that wouldn't fit our requirement in terms of living. So basically, they are, how to say, they are playing around the situation to take advantage of it. And we are seeing, in fact, patriotic movement within France that is growing and growing and growing, to the point that at a certain time, there will be an event that is going to make a sort of full switch in the population. We're going to face a real civil war. So
can you repeat
Macron,
that? I lost you for a few seconds again. Can you repeat what you just said?
Yeah. So basically, at a point in time, there will be an event that is going to be serious and critical enough, in fact, to switch the population to the point it will trigger a civil war. Look at what has been happening in England. Just young girls that has been raped by this black guy. At this moment, when the police said, no, forget about it, this is not cultural, you don't know, la, they try, in fact, to justify, and the population has been retaliating. And that is the reason why Nigel Farage has been taking over, in fact, the party. You see? And what we're facing here is certain numbers of parties that are in opposition, but they are not in majority. There is still the Rassemblement National, but I am not confident with them. I'm not confident with them for one reason. When you listen to Bardella, because Marine Le Pen has got a certain problem on the juridical point of view, I do not believe that this guy will be taking the measure necessary, in fact, to restructure and to rectify the situation. And actually, he's too young. He's 28 years old. You think I am going to vote for a guy, 28 years old, to elect him at the heads of our country? We have a guy called Macron. He has been screwing up everything because this guy had an agenda. He was paid for destroying our country. And I do believe that Bardella is under control of Macron for whatsoever financial reason. Because within the RN, you know, those people at the heads of the party, they have been misbehaving very seriously. We have one opportunity to save the situation. It is Philippe de Villiers. If this guy, who is very well structured, he has a level of culture that is absolutely incredible. He has a political background that would allow him, in fact, to re-put our country on the rail, to correct, in fact, a situation that is drifting to the unthinkable. Now, I do believe that Macron is keeping, in fact, this terrible ambience of fear within the country, because at a point in time, this is going to, to converge to a geopolitical event that is going to be critical. Ukraine, Russia. This guy is a revengeful individual. He is a transgressive individual. And what he is going to do is to organize a sort of provocation in the way that the conflict will be erupting between NATO and Russia. If you want to do so to cancel the elections that are supposed to take place in May 2027, the only way he has, in fact, to do so is to trigger the state of emergency. And the state of emergency can be triggered with several types of events. It can be like a geopolitical event, or it can be like an internal provocation that is going, in fact, to push two blocks of population to fight against themselves. This is civil war. And if it is happening, what is going to happen then? Macron will be canceling the election. So basically, we have two threats. One would be a provocation, in fact, to enter at war with Russia, which would lead to the full destruction of Europe. And we have some people at the heads of the European Union and some countries like Germany, France, that are not understanding how serious Russia is make everybody quiet.
Can you repeat again? The sound was breaking up.
Yeah. So basically, at the heads of the European Union and the countries constituting it, we have people that do not understand how serious Russian are, in fact, to use the necessary means to make everybody quiet. This is what is scaring me the most. So today we have an internal situation in France that is extremely, how to say, anxiogène, dangerous, anxiogène, with a level of insecurity that is just going to levels I've never seen. You know, the number of aggression by knife every day in France is about 100. 100 people are getting attacked by knife by people coming from those countries that are not related to our culture. So this level of anxiety that is developed within the population will come to a point of non-acceptation. And when this is happening, it's exploding. What we have been seeing actually in Paris, of course, it was very violent. They have been destroying boutiques. They have been just shopping around. They go in the boutique, they destroy everything. They pick up, in fact, the items that they need for their living, and they run away. They don't want to pay. And we have to pay the insurance that are charging us for restructuring the business and to reimburse, in fact, the people that has been deprived of their own business. It's enough. It is enough, you know? So,
yeah.
To summarize the situation, what is very disturbing, most of the media are trying to erase the criticality of the situation. They don't want to see it, they don't want to talk about it. For one very specific reason, they are taking advantage because the governments are financing those media. You see? And the government is saying, oh, you still want to make some money? So basically, this is a narrative that we have been putting together, and you need to spread it. But those people within those media, if you are putting them within the neighborhood that are causing some problem, trust me, they will be very, very scared. And on top of it, don't forget also one thing. The number of people at top level that are under drug. Macron the first is a drug addict. He's a cocainoman. You can see it. He's sneezing all the time, touching his nose. It's obvious. Obvious. This is, I've been living with a pharmacist, researcher, and she was studying the effect of drugs within the Memorial Parkland Hospital in Dallas, Texas, where I've been living for a decade. And she was explaining me what are, in fact, the symptoms that you see when somebody is using cocaine. The first thing is the guy is going to touch his nose because as the cocaine is made with the disintegrations of the molecule of the coca with battery acid, there are some substance, some molecule of acids that are kept inside the cocaine. And when they are using cocaine too often, this is destroying, in fact, the wall inside the nose.
Yeah.
So basically, it's running non-stop. And this is irritating, it's itching. So basically, those guys, they are touching their nose non-stop. When you see the number of politicians with the same behavior in France, you're just like, okay, they don't want to destroy this traffic of drug because they are the first customer. And if those guys disappear, how, in fact, they would be able, in fact, to leave? Loads of deputies got caught with cocaine in their hands. So basically, we have like a sort of imbrication of the power and those populations that are serving them on a certain point of view as drug dealer, but also on a political point of view. Which means, in other terms, that if we want to solve the problem of our country, we need first of all to get rid of those rotten politicians. We need to kick them out.
How do we do it? That's the problem.
Well, there are things I cannot say on here.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe in election anymore. I don't believe in election anymore. Because it has been 50 years and the problem is increasing and it's becoming to the point that the population is suffering about it. You see what I mean? So basically, except if suddenly there is like a regain of consciousness of our population, that would bring, in fact, them to choose the right candidate. And there is just only one. And this is the last chance for France, the last chance to save our culture, our country. And if we are not jumping on this opportunity in 2027, God save us. This is the end.
Mm-hmm. So actually, if we go back to the original question of this broadcast, what is the current situation with the protests? Are they still going on, or have they been?
No, it's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah, I mean, they went to the supermarket. They had all the items that they wanted because on top of it, what they do 2 to 3 days before, they go in the center of the city. They are checking, oh, I have this item that I want in this boutique, la, la, la. And then they gather themselves by thousands. And you see the police that is not doing anything. You see the video, the guys, they are burning cars, they are burning motorbikes, they are breaking boutiques. And how come, in fact, the media can broadcast those images when, in fact, the police is not doing his job and arrest those guys and beat the shit out of them? Try to do that in United States. Whoa, good luck. Try to do that in Russia. Why in Russia it's not happening? Why in Russia the Muslim populations are so much integrated within the society? This is because first they are Russian. It is not about religion, it is about who I belong, which culture, which country I belong to. I belong to Russia. I am Russian. The religion part of myself is just my perception and my story between God and myself, and it should not be on the table in regard of the way I should be behaving within the society. This is a very, very big difference. We have been importing a number of people right now, but they've never been able, in fact, to integrate themselves. And they
I think also the difference is. I think also the difference is between. How do I say it? The history is much different with Russia and their Muslim populations. I think
it's a long
they don't
story.
have. They don't have this same kind of CIA manipulation going on.
Don't even go there. This is in the ancient civilization of Russia. They were Muslim, but they were considered as part of this country. When here we have been asking some people, in fact, to move within our countries, and at the second, third generation, the problem started in a massive manner. So if you want, this integration was not a cultural integration. It was just like a functional integration that became a cultural problem. And this is where we are. How to solve it? First of all, we need to work on education, and at each level. Because when I see, in fact, the young people educated in France that are indexed on the story of global warming, LGBT, blah, 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 they are not learning how to speak French fluently, how to write French, how to learn write, how to practice mathematics, physics, or biology. And you see the level of the kids arriving in the university right now. This is scary, eh? Really scary. They go from the baccalaureate for operating a multiplication 2 by 3. They are using a calculus. What the hell? So basically, we need, in fact, to, how to say that, to restructure the educational system, to educate the kids on the civic point of view. Those who do not want, in fact, to follow up on the rules, immediately in a restricted camp, why not military with the Legion? And they will learn that there they cannot make any mistake. I was trained by the Legion, when I was in a military school. It didn't make me like a bandit. I was raised by my parents. They teach me rules, how to follow up on the legal aspect of our society. And I integrated myself. I could have been a drug dealer or whatsoever. No. I tried, in fact, to find my place, despite the fact that on the geopolitical point of view right now, I totally disagree with what this government is doing. That is a government of traitors. They are traitors because they are not considering the well-being of our society. They are not considering the well-being of our citizens. They are just considering us as slaves that need to follow up on whatsoever they have been deciding to serve their own interest. This is becoming very, very serious, and we are on the edge. Either we jump in the chasm, and this is destruction of our civilization, or we say, now, enough. And we retake the future of our country, our civilization, and our history. And for this, there is one thing to do, is to choose the right leader and to kick out all those little whistles that consider themselves like politicians when they are nobody.
Mm-hmm. So do you see any kind of chance of doing what Trump is attempting to do with mass deportations, for example, in France or in Europe in general?
It will depend on who is going to be elected. I'm telling you, there is one guy. Everybody else is going to be a disaster. It's one chance. 2027, it's a one chance. And if the French people are not selecting the right guy, game over. It's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's pretty much what we can say today.
Okay. All right. Thank you. It was a lot of very in-depth information for us, and I am very pleased to have you on every time because you have so much information that is difficult to get from other places, especially in the Finnish media. We haven't had much information about the Paris riots. There was just some videos, and I was just thinking that, okay, what's going on here? And thought that you are the perfect person to educate us on this matter.
Thank you very much. My
Okay.
friend, I'm gonna let you go because I have a lot of things, in fact, to do right now. I have some others conference calls in the
Okay.
United States and in Russia, so I'm gonna be having a very busy evening today.
Okay. Thank you again, Thierry.
Thank you very
Bye.
much, Johnny, and see you next time.
See you next time. Wow. Great interview.